Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Okay. My throat's a little sore from this morning. I had to scream. I didn't think the class was going to be that big downstairs, and we were supposed to have 20 people. I have to go round up to 54. So next year, my understanding is we're supposed to be doing a class like that, but we're going to have another area, and we're going to have speakers. So those who want to come to it next year. This is program 2 of the OEM versus repair standards decisions, and for your estimating. So we're going to talk about, I have a very little, small, limited recap of what we did yesterday to talk about, and then we'll get right into it. So for those who weren't here yesterday, P&L Consultants has a commitment to excellence through education and training, and you can find us at pnlestomology.com. You can also find us on Facebook. For those of you who haven't found me on Facebook yet, LinkedIn, and of course we got a Twitter account, and they're all linked up on our website if you want to get in touch with us any which way. My name's Larry Montanez. I own P&L Consultants, and my phone number, the office number is probably not the best way to get in touch with me, but my cell number is the 917-860-3588 number. My email address is laroygoju@aol.com, or you can get in touch with me at the P&L Estomology website. You'll be able to get in touch with me through the info at P&L Estomology. Our mission is to ensure that the collision repair industry and the insurance industry work together in the spirit of fairness, intelligence, and accuracy to assist the mutual customer, which is the vehicle owner. Topics off limits, and obviously you guys have probably been down this a bunch of times beforehand, but obviously labor rates, parts or equipment prices, repair times, cost and profit margins, dividing up the market, boycotts or refusals to deal with anyone, judgment on a specific shop's work or an insurance company practice, policies and guidelines for claim settlements, and how repairers conduct their business. Who wants repair standards? Has anyone been reading about this issue in the industry right now with the repair standards? There's a bunch of different voices out there who want repair standards within the industry. I have a fairly strong opinion on this. I wrote an article for Hammer and Dolly magazine based on repair standards, and I don't know what your guys' feelings are on this, but once again, you're entitled to your opinion. No one can tell you you're right or you're wrong for your own opinion. I just seem to base mine on a little bit more scientific and engineering principles. I feel I need some sort of evidentiary proof to support something or not support it. So, who wants repair standards? Well, some collision repairers want repair standards. Multiple location owners, shop owners, want repair standards. Insurers obviously want some sort of repair standard to come into play. Aftermarket suppliers, well, do you think they have a vested interest in some sort of repair standard? Versus, remember, we're challenging the OEM standard or the OEM procedure when it does exist, which is most of the time. Some associations, I know that some of this stuff has been brought up by a couple of different auto body or industry associations that want some sort of repair standard to be set. Well, collision repairers who want a repair standard basically are untrained and lazy. Plain and simple. It's untrained and lazy. You don't know where to look for the information, you can't find it. Hyundai and Kia are the only two companies I know of right now who have no repair procedures whatsoever. Everybody else out there, if you go into the OEM website, you go into all data, if you have that access, although some stuff on some of the German cars is better explained in the OEM website. Mitchell has a program that's starting to get more and more of the cars in there, and then obviously I think CCC has something now that's really geared towards just the estimate itself, more for estimators, but there's some information in there. Multiple location owners make their partners happy. Who's a partner in a multiple location owner? Well, the insurance company. That's what they call it, their partner. Although I don't see that, because unless on Friday I can walk over to my insurance partner and say, look, I'm a little low on cash to make payroll. I'm waiting for some checks clear. Can you give me 12 grand till I make payroll and I'll get back to you on Monday? How many people think I'm going to get that happening? Yeah, you're not. So it's not a partner. Okay, nobody's a partner unless they have a vested interest in your company. Insurers, well, savings and greed. We're plain and simple. I mean, greed is good, isn't it? Gordon Gekko taught that to us. And as we all know, how many people have read the book From Good Hands to Boxing Gloves? Anybody? Okay, there's 3 people in this room who read that book. Anybody else in this business, next year you better have all read that book, From Good Hands to Boxing Gloves by David Bertinelli. It's $15, so don't be so cheap. The book will take you an hour and a half to read. It's pretty easy. Don't buy the $3,500 one. That's the lawsuit. And that's all the court documents. You don't need that, and you won't understand it anyway. Okay? But get that book. That's about the whole entire thing about how the consulting company to the world, and you guys can Google it, what company it is, actually taught greed is good. Actually taught what Wall Street exposed in the movie. They actually taught it. And this case was lost by a major insurance company. You can figure it out by the title, From Good Hands to Boxing Gloves. Lost this court case, and they had to put out all these reports on their website for free. And there's actually a link to where it is. A lot of the stuff is blacked out, but you can get access to it. And I don't blame them. I mean, think about it. You guys want savings, right? Because technically you're all a little greedy, right? I want to make money for myself. So it's understandable, but what cost to the driving consumer? Sales and greed. Well, aftermarket suppliers, they want to make money too, right? And of course they want to sell more parts, and what does most OEMs say? No aftermarket, no used in most cases, so obviously they want something on their side. And then some associations. Well, I think some of these associations that are out there have changed their tune a little bit and have faltered or leaned towards being partnered up with the insurance companies, which seems to be a conflict of interest in my opinion. You're not supporting your group members anymore, while other members of other associations are completely against that entire idea of being friendly with them. It's the other side, so you make your decision. Now, not all of this is a bad idea completely, but we need to weigh the options. What's some pros of the repair standards? More available repair procedures. Would that be easier? More repairable repair procedures for you guys, right? That would help out. Lower cost to the insurers. Well, yeah, you could lower the cost because what? May not total as many vehicles, may be able to purchase components and be able to put a portion of them in instead of the whole thing. Lower severity. Well, if we're fixing more cars, that means less totaled out cars, maybe in some cases less parts bought. Less totaled out vehicles, more repairable vehicles. Well, you guys like to repair vehicles, right? Because we're still on that notion that the only way to make money is to repair a vehicle versus totaling them out, which you could probably make twice as much money than repairing the vehicle if you calculate the money properly. Better insurance relations. Well, now you get along better with insurance companies. More use of used parts. That'll be a good thing, right? You make the junkyards happy. You guys will probably be happy because using more used parts is what they want to be called. They act like the word recycled. If you read Hammer and Dolly magazine this month, I wrote a whole article with Jeff about terminology and the usage of words. That's that new Collisionpedia website we're starting. And we talk about what used parts should actually be called versus recycled, which if you look up the word recycling makes no sense whatsoever to a used part. More sectioning procedures. That'd be great, right? I don't have to replace the whole rail. I can section it basically almost wherever I want because a bunch of guys who got together decided that we can do it this way. And then, of course, more parts options. I can use aftermarket, used. Maybe I could have my friend Nino build me one in the backyard on his metal brake and his English wheel. We could bend out something because, obviously we want to keep this car and keep the cost low to the insurance company because Parrish had thought that a multi-billion-dollar company that sponsors blimps and, big stadiums should lose $1. I mean, that's why we're trying to make repair standards. So let's look at the problems. More improper repairs. You got improper repairs going on now, and I know there's a couple of DV guys in this room, and I know there's a couple of guys who do post-repair inspections in this room, and there's bad repairs going on now with repair procedures from the OEMs, because people just want to do things any way they feel like it. More liability exposure. I'm going to show you a case test study that has nothing to do with collision repair. It has to do with a new car and a salesman. More fatalities. Well, we'll kill more people, which is good. The world's overpopulated anyway, right? Isn't it? More injuries. Well, I make the doctors more money, make lawyers more money, God knows lawyers need to make more money. I know that because they're so broke already. More diminished value lawsuits. Anyone ever been hit with a DV case against them? Anybody get hit with that yet? Watch out. It's starting to become the new thing to do up in the Northeast area. I know it was kind of secluded out in New York for a while. I'm hearing more and more about it in New York lately. Although a lot of the insurance, remember, it's a lot in New York. People say it's not, but it is. Most of the time the insurance company just buys it outright to keep out of that thing because they don't want to make a whole lawsuit out of it. But watch for that coming more. More shop lawsuits. I have 4 lawsuits right now that are involved with collision repair facilities in the New York City area. More dangerous to motorists. Do you guys drive on these highways at all where you fix cars? Or do you have a helicopter that lands on your roof and flies you to a different location, like a different neighborhood, so you don't have to worry about it? Remember that guy in that area? So if you think you're safe from your area and butchering a car or not doing it the right way or making up your own repair decisions, remember that wherever neighborhood you fly into, that guy in that area might be fixing cars the same way. So it's something to think about in a way. More bad business decisions. You know, sometimes, you anyone ever fix a car that when you were finally done with it, you're like, I should never fix this car. Thank God we were dead in the shop because I think I made $1 profit on this car. Alright? More bad business decisions will be made. Repair standards, parameters. The following should be adhered to. Let's say we want to make repair standards. Well, let's look at this. An independent group should be formed from the following entities. One is OEM representatives. You cannot start making up repair procedures unless you involve the guys who make the cars, plain and simple. Collision repairers. You'll need some collision repairers who are out there in the market, who are well respected and understand why repairs need to be done a certain way. And anyone who, me, if I was running it, the minute they say, well, you know, the cost is that, you know what, leave the room. You're off the committee now. You brought up cost. Money has nothing to do with it. Car gets repaired based on the proper repair procedures, like a family member's driving on it, driving in that car or driving with you, and money's not an object. Second you bring money up, you've totally ruined your entire opinion to me. Plain and simple. Because if you're worried about money, guess what? You don't care about anything else but the money. So, collision repairers. Engineers, physicists, and metallurgists. Guys, you need science guys here. So far, every outline I've read includes insurance companies and body shops. Who are you to tell somebody how to build a car, how to fix a car, how to work on a car with no scientific proof on it? I'm just going to arbitrarily cut the rail here because it's going to save us more money in the long run. That's nice. How many more lives are you going to kill? Well, I don't know. I'm assuming we'll kill maybe 20, 30 more people. It's kind of like that old story. Your father ever tell you a story when you were a kid? Well, if you're ever surrounded by a bunch of guys, you know, you threaten them or push back by the fact of, okay, you guys are going to kick the crap out of me, but I'm taking one of you with me. Who wants to be the guy going with me? You've seen it in movies a couple of times where the guy says, well, he's only got 6 bullets. And the guy's always being a tough guy, but it's true in a way. Which, you know, what is it, 25, 30 people in here? Okay, which 6 want to die? Because the rest of you are going to kill me, but which 6 of you want to go? So, what, you know, arbitrarily just pick 6 people more that are going to die because we want to do the wrong thing? Industry experts. Well, obviously you need to get some industry experts in there. Okay? I'm giving a suggestion. I'm not volunteering for it. Please don't ask me either. I got other things to do. Somebody like me, Mike Anderson, Sean Hart, who used to be with BMW, a few of those guys, besides the OEM experts to be brought in. Other people who are known in the industry as experts who have testimony on collision repair. Okay? Guys like that who could also add to the idea. iCar's Tech Center, Jason Barton and Steve Marks. I have a lot of respect for Steve Marks. Very, very well-versed guy. Probably most of you guys don't know who Steve Marks is. He works a lot with the OEMs for the OEM programs that iCar's teaching. Jason Barton runs the iCar Tech Center. iCar's not set up to really run the committee by themselves. iCar actually said a few years ago, has anyone ever read iCar's UPCRs, Uniform Procedures for Collision Repair? When iCar was first formed back in the, really technically the early 80s, but 79 they were actually chartered. They came up with Uniform Procedures of Collision Repair where none exist. Here's some basic, you know, common sense decisions to make. Well, on December 3rd, 2007, iCar came out with an article. Is iCar's UPCRs still applicable today? And they said, no, it's probably not because of the type of steel and steel substrates. So basically all their UPCRs are, I guess, sunsetted or need to be sunsetted to something new. And ICAR's already admitted that. So does ICAR need to upgrade it? Yeah, they do, but they need to take into consideration the other factors there. Only where none currently exist should a repair procedure decide to come up or come about. For example, Hyundai and Kia. And I'll tell you what you do with Hyundai and Kia. You drive to Canada, you go buy a Hyundai Kia repair manual for Canada, you bring it back here, you take off all the Kia Hyundai information as far as their naming and change it to uniform procedure. And basically you have a book. How many guys have ever testified in a court of law? Would you be able to testify that that book is pretty accurate to the OEM because it's from Canada and it's from, the OEM, that they produce in Canada, not here. Supported by crash testing and or CAD, computer animated drawings, or computer animated crash testing that the OEMs will perform, or the OEMs can say that. How many guys were in class last night here? Okay, remember, a lot of guys. Remember Mark Olson from Verifax was here, and I brought up that Mark Olson had a Verifax that had come up with 2 repair procedures that Ford adopted. Well, they came up and said, look, we have this problem. We got a lot of shops doing this repair. They can't, this is getting ridiculous. Can we do it here? We have an extra rail. We did it. Can you guys do a crash test? They mocked it up in a computer program, and guess what? It worked out to the numbers, and they did the research and development for Ford, and Ford adopted it. So it can happen. Reviewable every 6 months. This program needs to be updated and reviewable on those repair procedures every 6 months, because how many times have you guys seen a repair procedure change from an OEM? Because something changed in the car. They changed the process, they changed the material. How many guys remember years ago Chrysler? They used to have on their what was that, the New Yorker and the LHS, it would come with a plastic fender from the factory, and what'd you get as a replacement fender? A lot of times you got a steel fender, or vice versa. Especially when you had the plastic one, had a molded bracket on the side to slide the bumper on. When you got the new metal fender, what didn't you have there? A molded in bracket. You had to find a clip to try and hold the bumper cover on. And no one ever gave you a procedure or anything about that. And then, of course, only after request letter was sent to the OEM has failed. For example, this committee gets together and they go up to Hyundai and say, hey, Hyundai of America, come up with some repair procedures or release your repair information from other countries and put it here in America. Well, we're really not going to do that. Okay, we're going to make up our own stuff then, because you refused to. Because in a court of law, they refused to do it. We based our decisions on this. We had to do something. Okay? I think it seems to be made common sense. What's not included on that list? Yeah, who cares what they think? Nobody cares what an insurance company thinks. If anyone cared what an insurance company thought about collision repair, they'd own a collision shop. They'd leave the insurance business, open a collision shop. Do any one of you care, outside of your personal doing, do you care what insurance premiums are for cars? Do you care what they rate her versus me versus him? Do you care if she has 2 kids, I have no kids, he has 5 kids, and they're going to rate us? Do you care about that? Premiums? Does that affect your day-to-day business? It affects you personally if you're going to apply for insurance. So you can see how you guys don't care about that. They should not care about what you do. Here's a case business study of a business decision. This is an exemplar, means same type, 2006 Nissan 350Z. This is the factory rim on the car. This is a copy of the factory rim, what it looks like up close. This is what type of rim? Does it look the same? Same rim. It's chromed. We're doing good so far. What do you think? Is this okay to do this? I chromed the rim. I chromed the factory rim. Remember, what does Larry always says, beats into our head. All these OEMs say the same thing. No bending, no cutting, no scraping, no adding material, no removing material, no reshaping, and no welding of the rim. But most of the companies allow you to paint them, right? Well, I don't remember Larry saying anything about chrome, but how bad can this be? Well, let's see. Here's a case study. October 11, 2006. A 2006 Nissan 350Z was northbound on the 405 in Los Angeles. How this guy got up to enough speed to have this situation happen, I'm unsure of, because if anyone's ever been on a 405, it's basically, it's like all of us waiting in line to go to the bathroom. It's just, it doesn't move anywhere, okay? Everyone's just standing around waiting. An LAPD motorcycle police officer was southbound on the 405. So one guy's going this way and one guy's going that way. Well, obviously, if one guy's going this way and one guy's going that way, eventually somewhere along the line they're going to pass each other, correct? Well, a wheel separation occurred almost at the point where they were coming into contact. Has anyone ever been on the 405 in LA? Okay. There's a concrete barrier down the middle, much like any other parkway in any metropolitan city. You know, about yay high. So the wheel came off, hit the wall, hopped over, hit the cop, and basically it threw the police officer 150 feet from the point of contact. Pretty far distance, huh? What are you talking, 2 3/4 tractor trailers? Right, something like that? Vehicle was purchased 1 month earlier at Antelope Valley Nissan. When the owner of the vehicle walked in to buy this car, he was offered, "Do you want our chrome rim package?" He says, "Sure, I'd love that. That looks great. I like that. They got a nice little display case. They got their primed up car sitting inside the showroom." And he says, "I want that." That's like, ooh, because all us guys, we love shiny things, chrome things. I mean, look, you can buy a Harley Davidson for what? About $17,000. By the time you're done driving out of the dealership, it's $62,000 in chrome. Okay, because we're gonna buy every little chrome doodad that's on there. Subletter was the guy who did the job. So they sent somebody to the facility, picked up the rims and tires, took the rims off took the tires off the rim, brought it over to the chroming place, prepped it up, chromed it, brought it back to the dealership, and they put the tires on. Nissan has a TSB out on rims since mid-90s. That was the major witness in the case. Nissan says you cannot chrome our rims. Do not chrome our rims. We're finding fractures and separation issues with the lug nut seating area and lap shear strength, holding strength, when the vehicle is driven with the chrome rims and there's a separation in there. So do not chrome our factory rims. Nissan says this. Nissan of America said this. Well, they say directly in there, this is a quote from them, that there's a change in metallurgical properties through the process of putting this chroming material on there. Well, the judge took this all into account, and he made the dealer pay $2.75 million to this police officer who was injured. Currently, there's a case against, now once again, this is a salesman, the owner of the business, the owner of the dealership, and the technician who put the rim on. Also involved was the, no, not yet. Also involved from the dealership was the service manager who took the job in and wrote it up on there. Now, the subletter, the driver of the sublet truck that picked the part up, God bless you, that picked the car up and picked the rim up and brought it to the dealership, God bless you again, and brought it back again is on the hook. The guy who did the chroming over at the subletter, the owner of the sublet place, are also on the hook. That's a separate case. That, well, if the dealer got nailed for that, what do you think is going to happen to the other place? This has nothing to do with what you guys do. This has to do with the dealership chroming rims that they shouldn't have chromed rims. This is just chroming them. I don't want to show of hands in this. How many guys use some sort of outside wheel source for their rims? Outside of using only OEM rims, you guys are promoting improper repairs. Don't try and defend yourself. Don't try and go for it. You're wrong. There's no bending of the rims. I was downstairs before and somebody approached me about that type of thing. And I said to the guy, no, I'm a consultant in the business. I don't want to talk to you about it, because I would have tore the guy up. I put people on the spot. Those of you who know me very well know I put people on the spot for things. You better be able to defend what you're trying to prove. I don't care what they show you on YouTube. Remember, what's the only thing that touches the ground?
Wheels and tires.
Wheels and tires. And how many people go to Sears and buy, off brands or leftovers that, you buy a set of tires at Costco or what's the other one, BJ's. 6 months later, you go back to get a replacement tire. Is it available? No, the tread pattern's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. Now what do you do? Now you got 3 or 4 different treads. That's the only thing that touches the ground. Next closest thing is the wheels. Stop screwing around with wheels. Buy the wheels. If you don't get paid for it, guess what? You got 2 choices. You can sue them and get paid for it, and believe me, it works. If you don't believe me, talk to Mike Parker, talk to a few of the other guys that have done it already. I got a shop in Long Island, one in Jersey. We'd be more than glad to talk to you about it. Or take it out of your own pocket and pay for it. How many guys in here have coverage to cover them for $2.75 million? Anybody have that kind of coverage? To cover you if you get sued for that amount? Wait, I'll give you one better. In most states, if you're on a DRP contract and you did it for a DRP and you went ahead and signed a contract with the with the DRP, Direct Repair Program, that says you indemnify the insurance company, your garageman's insurance policy is more than likely null and void. So that means you have no coverage. So that means they come where? After you personally. And don't think an S-Corp, LLC, or anything like that is going to protect you from getting sued. It doesn't. You can still get caught up in that. You're not personally responsible financially for the operation of the company, but you are responsible for what happens to it liability-wise, and they can come after you. It gives you a little bit of protection, but you're not completely protected from it. If you don't believe me, ask your lawyer. Okay? And once again, each state depends on what goes on in each state with that. I believe I talked about it in Mass one time, and I think someone checked that out, and there's a rider coverage you can get for that, I think, in that state. But once again, you're in a non-DRP state, so I think the rules are a little bit different. New York, I know you can't do that at all. So I don't know about Jersey. You'd have to check that out yourself. So, yeah, they're suing for $20 million. That case is pending on the subletted job. Someone brought that up before as a separate case. So this is pretty crazy. So liability issues that we look at. The repair facility obviously is on the hook for everything, because who's the repair professional? The shop. The insurance company is not the repair professional. No state that I've been told of yet or researched or found out yet, the insurance company's opinion means nothing. Their estimate basically means nothing. It's an internal document for their side. Your final repair bill, and in some states like Jersey, you have to give a repair estimate up front, not to exceed a certain amount. Once again, your estimate or your final bill is the only thing that matters in a court of law. And don't think not giving a final repair bill will keep you out of trouble, because that'll become an issue also that I've seen. Personal liability. Like I said before, you can be sued personal for this. I don't care what kind of ghost company you cover, how many, different walls you try to put up. They'll eventually going to come in. You pay taxes somewhere with a social security number, they can come after you. Because if your tax number and your social security number match something on that company's documentation, they can come after you personally. Not insurer. Any DRP, the insurer is going to be the only guy who's not going to be in that courtroom with you. You guys do understand that. Anyone who's on a DRP, the insurance company will never be in that courtroom with you. Never in a million years. They're not liable for anything. Technician. Some states, the technician can be dragged into it. My understanding of it is, and once again, I'm not a lawyer, is that there's more issues with technicians who are on flat rate because they're like somewhat of a subcontractor to the shop. They could be held more liable than a technician that's on hourly wage, although both could be brought into a court case. Jobber or subletter. The subletter guy, jobber guy that you hire to do something, you farm the work out. You're still responsible for how that person does the repair or how he handles the repair. So that's something else that you have to make sure of. How many guys have outside glass work done on cars? Anybody ever have glass put in during the winter? Do you have it put on inside the shop? You keep the shop at 70 degrees Fahrenheit for 24 straight hours? Because we all leave our heat on when we leave at night, right? We leave the heat on so it's nice 75 degrees in the shop all night long. Keep shaking your heads and lying to me. I like that. Or we don't have the glass guy do it outside when it's cold out. Remember, urethane doesn't dry unless it's 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit with a 70% relative humidity in most cases. Two-part products can be force cured inside of a spray booth. So putting glass on, like some of these companies do in someone's parking lot while they're working, is basically setting them up to die if they get into an accident not wearing their seatbelt. Because there's still people out there who think not wearing their seatbelt is a smart idea. Supplier. Person who supplied the parts or the equipment can be sued. Safety factors. Well, there could be multiple safety factors in there. Remember what I said yesterday? Well, most of the people were here what you hear yesterday, so excuse me for repeating myself. Remember, most of the time when a collision event occurs, very rarely does a lawyer want to spend the money on an expert researching or finding out if previous repairs were improper to cause this collision event, or the part or the equipment was improper to cause this collision event. Some do make a mistake. Sometimes they like to bring in the manufacturer, like in this case the one I showed you, like Nissan. And Nissan comes in with no less than 35 engineers. And they destroy the case. Helps me out because I'm basically of their opinion, and that's an improper part. They had nothing to do with it. Someone did something different than what they deviated from the repair procedure, which in a court of law is the standard. So you don't need to make repair standards when something already exists. You get up to that level, only the OEMs, the only thing that's really going to matter as far as what repairs get done. And this is important for us to understand. We can't make things up, guys. And I see some people trying to say, well, we're going to buck the system. I don't like what the OEM says, so I'm going to make my own thing up. Because if that was the case, I'm sure that you guys would have 3,000 hours to put a quarter panel on if you had the proof to do it to the database systems. And I'm sure the insurance companies would want it done in like 15 minutes, right? But then we have somebody to kind of combat, which is the DEG, right? But you guys, how many guys use the DEG? Anybody? Okay, just, no, guys, hold up your hands. Who did that? Okay, everyone else look around and see that there's only like 5 hands up in a room with 30 people. You guys all need to start using the DEG. It's there to help you change database system problems. Okay, if you're an insurance company and you find a time's ridiculous, send it in, they'll take a look at it. If you're a body shop and find a time's ridiculous, too low, send it in. How many times both the insurance company and the body shop see a part and no time? Because I guess the part when you buy it just jumps on the car. It's one of those, instant install type parts. So you don't know what. The insurance company wants to give you something. The body shop wants to charge something, but what do we charge? Well, this is why you got to send it to the DEG. Estimating database systems, the best thing in the world? They're not perfect, but guess what? What else are we going to do? Base our repairs based on what? Well, let's see, my payments this month are $30,000, and I got 12 cars in this shop, 12 by 30. Okay, well, each car is going to average out to be a $2,000 repair. That's how we're going to do it? Does that make sense? We need something to base our opinions off of. OEM scientific methods. Scientific way is the only way to ask and answer scientific questions by making observations, doing experiments. It's important for your experiment to be a fair test. A fair test occurs when it changes in only one factor or variable and keep all other conditions the same and repeat this test multiple times to get an opinion of this. So you have to first ask yourself a question of what you want to try and solve. You have to do background search on the question you're bringing up. I want to section this part at this area here. Well, what's the part? Okay, I ask myself the question, right? That's what I want to do. But what do I have to do? Background search. What's the component made of? What's the component's function? Is it meant to crush? Is it not meant to crush? What did the original manufacturer of the component say about this particular component? I go ahead and I construct a hypothesis of what I want to do. I want to section it here. Okay, I came up with a whole idea, measure it out and say, I want to section it X amount of millimeters from this particular location. Well, now I'm going to test it, right? I'm going to sawzall it in half, I'm going to weld it back together, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crash test it. So now I'm going to analyze that crash testing, and I'm going to figure out what my conclusion is, right? I want to find out did it work or not work? Did it crash the same as the undamaged portion, the new part? So I come up with it. If the hypothesis is true, I report my results and say, hey guys, look, I came up with a new repair standard. There's a way to do this. Here's the proof. Not one test, multiple tests. What happens if it fails? What do? Do I give up? Okay, good. I go back. I report my results. It failed. But then I go back, I rethink what I did wrong, and I try again, and I come through. I get back down here to my conclusion. Does it come out true or does it come out false? See how that works? Can you see now making repair standards could be a difficult operation unless it's well thought out beforehand? We just can't arbitrarily say where we want to cut something. We have to figure it out properly. Engineering design process. The engineering design process is set up of a set of steps that a designer takes to go to first, identifying a problem or a need to, at the end creating and developing a solution that solves the problem and meets the need. During the engineering design process, designers frequently jump back and forth between steps. Going back to earlier steps is common. This is a way of working that's called iteration, also called the successive approximation, a problem-solving or compilation method in which successions of approximations each build on the preceding one. It is used to achieve the desired degree of accuracy, and it is likely that your process will do the same. For example, I want to go ahead and I want to do this. And you start doing it, you go to yourself, oh, wait a second. I got like 3 steps into what I wanted to do. That ain't going to work. Let me go back and... So if you sit down and think it out beforehand, anyone ever read an outline to a day's work or an outline to the cars you want to repair, and then as you're looking at it, you see what techs actually show up for work that day, you're like, well, I can't have him work on this car. No. Let me move this over. So you got to change your plan. You do the same type of thing. You just don't call it as scientifically as we're outlining here. So, in an engineering design process, you have to define your problem. I have 15 cars. I have only 4 workers to work today. I have a problem, right? I got to figure a way to make this work. So I have to brainstorm. Who do you brainstorm with? Well, just making opinions on your own sometimes isn't good, because guess what? There's no one to argue with you. So what do you need? You need a couple of guys that you can trust within your shop to speak to and come up with an idea. As you go through with this, you do background research. Well, who's good at doing black cars, high-end cars? We need Joey. Well, Joey's not here today. Okay, when is this car, supposed to be done? You start brainstorming back and forth and find a solution to your problem. Specify criteria protocols. Remember, protocols have to be backed up with scientific proof of things. So if we're going to change this from your decision making in the shop, and we're going to go to making up a set of repair standards and change what the OEM says, the guys who have billions and billions of dollars to do multiple testing, to a bunch of guys who are going to sit there and go, well, on paper this looks good. Anyone ever play football? Anyone play football in their life? Remember your coach with the X's and the O's? The guy was a genius. And you ever go out on the field and it never executed the same way he did on paper? It looks so much better on paper than when you actually played the game. Well, remember, you have to be able to prove what you're doing and why you're doing it. Create alternative solutions. Anyone ever take a look at something and always try and beat it up? You got to be a little negative about things. Well, if I invest this money in this and the market drops, what happens then? You ever think of it that way? Sometimes I like looking at things, the bad side of it, being a little pessimistic about things, so I can actually answer questions beforehand instead of blindly going into it. All right? You always want to look at all the options, good and bad. Choose the best solution that works for you. You're going to develop a design proposal. You'll build a model or prototype of what you want to do. Like we said before, I'm going to make a new rail section procedure, or a new way of welding a rail together, or a new, I want to bond a quarter panel on instead of welding it on, because I just find it easier. Because some guy came into my shop and told me, well, for $29.95 you can buy this glue and it'll glue everything together. Yeah, Crazy Glue will do it too, and I think that's $1.99 a tube. So if you want to look at it that way, test and evaluate or redesign. Well, I test it, and I do an evaluation and it works. Could I possibly produce a paper on it? Yeah, I could. What happens if it fails? Well, I better rethink what I was doing and retest this idea. Refine and retest your stuff, and then create or produce your product, ultimately coming to a result that you can communicate to the industry. And we've seen this before with certain OEMs who have changed procedures, certain protocols that have changed. Anyone see that now? Here, I'll give you an example. Communicate the result. Anyone see the DEG announced last week that CCC came out with some additions and changes to their P pages? There's not a lot, but they went through this whole process. It took them, about a year, I think, was the last P page upgrade from CCC. CCC just added a bunch of stuff to it. So that's the process they went through. Engineering principles. Where's the car supposed to be strong nowadays? Yep, right here in the dead center area. So as the applied forces either come from the front or the rear, as this collision energy comes in, it's meant to transfer onto the lower unirails. Through the lower unirails, it goes down to the rocker, up over the A-pillar, upper outer roof rail, inner reinforcement, down the rear sail panel to the quarter panel and dissipate out this way, or vice versa coming this way. This area is supposed to stay open or strong for the occupants in the vehicle. That's why whoever was in class this morning, you saw some suspension issues and some structural damage to the vehicle to keep the occupants safe. Engineering principles. As the collision energy comes into this area, or the front of the vehicle, depending on if it's an offset hit or straight on hit, the configuration of the way the shape of the upper unirail, lower unirail, apron assembly, strut tower is configured is meant to move this collision energy, the yellow arrow showing us, down to different areas of the vehicle, even allowing some dissipation of the energy across the floor rails and up over to the roof panel. Very important to not change those parameters, especially the type of steel. Has anyone tried to work with any boron alloy steel? Anyone ever cut that? Sawzall blade? Basically knocks the teeth right off, turns into a butter knife. Does no more damage than a set of car keys would do to it. If you're anyone a volunteer fireman, if you've ever been through that, you'll see that there's a few guys out there like Todd Hoffman does seen the accident. He does training. Some of those jaws of life won't cut through boron alloyed steel because they're only good to about 75,000 pounds per square inch. And some of this stuff, this is a copy of a Benz. They're ultra high strength steel hot worked, which they call it Usabor. Okay, and in their repair manuals, 1,500 Newton meters squared tensile strength, or 1,500 megapascals, which is 217,000 pounds per square inch. Just to give you an idea of how strong that is. Your weld, when you guys weld metal together, is only good to 70,000 pounds per square inch. So that's some really strong stuff. It don't want to move. So those jaws of life basically just, put car key scratches on it. So for you guys to pull that around and move it, any deviation on that pillar, if your jigs don't line up, guess what? You got to change that part. There's no pulling to it. You'll cause micro cracking and later on cause an issue that'll probably separate or cause an accident later on. Although it looks like it can be pulled, right? And you probably know plenty of shops that would actually try pulling it. But you probably just caused the death or the injury to somebody in that vehicle. But who cares? It's something to come back to you, right? But if it does, are you protected for it? From a side impact, as the collision energy travels into the side of the vehicle, due to this Usabor or boron alloyed steel, the engineers have set this vehicle up that what's going to happen, years ago, what would happen to this car if I blasted it in the B-pillar? What would happen on this side of the car? Right, it would shorten it in the rockers. What would happen to that side of the car? It would widen, right, most of the time? Okay, so we'd have to have a car that looks like a C, right? It's got a C shape to it. Well, nowadays, instead of the vehicle, and let's say these are the rails for the vehicle, instead of the car doing this, when a car gets hit, a lot of them are meant to do this now. They're actually going to allow the floor pan to slide and not deflect out that way. And the reason is because these rails are so strong, and even though we have an offset weight in the front here, and a lot of these German cars are 50-50 weight. So from the center of gravity, remember the center of gravity is generally up someplace near the firewall because of the way the engine is set on the car. It's not if you cut the car directly in half, is it 50-50 weight. That wouldn't work out because how does the back of the car weigh more than the motor? So you'll wind up with this energy coming in. Some of the energy is dissipated through the upper and lower door intrusion beams up the B-pillar to the roof rail, dissipating across that area, and then depending on the configuration, for example, Mercedes-Benz has this big open glass area. The framework allows that energy to go across. Some companies don't have a sunroof, and they have a bar that goes across. That center bar sometimes will be ultra-high strength steel or a boron alloyed steel will allow that energy to travel to the other side. That's why a lot of times people can get easily out of cars that are blasted in the side. Engineering principles. We're going to look at a couple of quick videos here to show you how this energy travels through the vehicle. This is a Touareg. Tiguan, excuse me. Here's the collision energy. It's coming in here. Notice the rear wheel goes forward. Person's head comes into the airbag nicely. Obviously the car's deflecting off to the side. Here's the airbag. Notice the center here really doesn't move because the energy skips that center area and goes towards the back. And you can see how the occupant hits the face into the airbag. They deflect backward back into the seat. Engineering principles, a side hit. As you can see here, this car really got hit very, very badly here. Airbags came out, but let's see a crash video of a side hit and see what kind of damage the car actually sustains. Excuse me. Alright, let's go to this one. Here's two side hits, and this was done by Thatcham. Anyone hear of Thatcham out of England? Thatcham actually put their money where their mouth is. They repaired a B-pillar wrong, and they repaired it correctly following the OEM. Okay, and you can see here that one B-pillar performs worse than the other B-pillar that was originally there. And they're showing that when they get to the side one, you'll see how much more it deflects. This crushes in, that's actually causing more of the glass to come out because the B-pillar failed. This is one of the few videos I've ever seen where you actually have a vehicle that was improperly repaired and the damages are being shown what happens to it. So it really does show, if you don't do it correctly, you can see the doors are holding on the other side. On this side here, the doors actually pull away from the structure of the car. And you can see how much more damage, see how much more damage this goes in on a V? This is what happens when you don't repair a car properly. I want to use a used part because I want to save somebody money. I don't have the right equipment to repair the car properly, so I'm not going to do it properly. I'm going to try and fix it. This is a dark picture there. So you can see that there's some important factors to look at when doing these types of repairs and having improper repairs. And the fact that that person just probably got killed by the B-pillar versus the other side that the airbag came in and the B-pillar protected them. So it's important to look at your decisions as a business. Re-engineering a vehicle. Well, here's a standard procedure you see in Brooklyn all over the place. I got to repair the rail, so I'm going to cut a hole on one side. I'm going to heat the crap out of it, pull it back into shape, and then I'm going to weld that hole back up. Good job? What do you think? No, you cannot do that. There's no manual that I know of that exists from an OEM that says this is an okay procedure to do. Plus, there's no heat allowed on rails. And actually, this was an investigation against the shop who did this, where the adjuster went back for a supplement on the estimate, found that they paid for rails, the shop didn't want to do the rails, and you know what the insurance company did on this? They SIU'd it, Special Investigations. They called us in, we looked at it and says, oh, that car's not safe to drive. They totaled it out. They totaled it out. Because the shop did an improper repair. So it's not like the insurance company went in there and tried to say, oh, well, you didn't fix the rail. I mean, you fixed the rail, you didn't replace it, so we're going to take the money off and we don't care what happened. This company actually cared what happened to this person. Here's some other things. Here's a nice charcoal rail. That's a good repair procedure. They fixed it, right? This is what's going to happen if you want repair procedures, guys. Guys are going to say, why can't you heat it up? It looks good. Kind of like those idiots out there who are doing the used airbags. The process of certifying an airbag, anyone remember from last night what the main criteria is to certify an airbag is to do what? Look at it. You look at it, it looks good. Well, it must be okay. You know, I might look good to you. I might have stage 3 cancer, but I look good. Here's another one. We couldn't get a wheel alignment to work, so what did we do? Oh, machine make hole bigger. Works for me. Oh, this is my favorite. Here's a crush zone. Somebody asked about this last night. See the crush initiators? This is on a GM. This part is $230. And what'd they do? We'll just heat the crap out of it and get it back into it. It looks good, doesn't it? If I sand that and paint that, can you tell that's been repaired? I mean, besides the micro cracking over here, well, we'll just throw some weld in there. That'll be good. Okay? Very important to read your repair information on the manufacturers. As I finish up these last few here. A lot of these manufacturers have specific areas. For example, Acura, in the sail panel, you're actually putting in a backing joint. Rocket panel, backing joint. Different areas call for different resistance welds or plug welds, right on the same car. Now we go to something like Nissan. Nissan's an open butt joint. This is a lap weld. This is where the quarter overlaps onto the rocker panel. It's calling out you can use 5 spot welds or 4 MIG plug welds. Can you see that? See how you got to read these? Once again, if you go to All Data or you take one of my other classes that I do on this stuff, you can see what gets done on here. They show you hemming. They show you the urethane foam. They show you where your adhesive is going to go in this area. So they give you options. Here they show you how the adhesive goes on this Infinity. Here's Toyota with their hieroglyphics, I guess is the best way to describe it. But if you read outside spot welds, symbols, This is for spot welds. The squares are MIG plug welds. This is a spot MIG weld, which we don't use in this country. But the O is for outside, middle, and inside panels. Outside, middle, and inside panels. This is the removal points. So here's our procedure for removing and installation of them. It's showing us how many welds in which areas and what type of welds to use. Also, Toyota's another one. 150 millimeters from these points here, and no backing piece. Yet Honda wants a backing piece. Shows you welds, plug welds, resistance welds, plug welds, resistance welds. See the difference there? Little squares, little round circles. Once again, putting all MIG welds, improper. Putting all spot welds, improper. What does the OEM say? 3, 6, 5, 8, 6. See the importance of reading instructions and how you have to look at these things? Cost of doing business. As I finish up here, I hear this a lot, and I plan on writing an article for Hammer and Dolly magazine. I hear, oh, that's a cost of doing business. Does anyone know what a true cost of doing business is? Does anyone go to college and take a course in business management? How many guys remember Dave Coffey from the Northeast, manager for my cars? Anyone remember Dave Coffey at all? Some of you guys might have dealt with him. Dave's a professor up at RIT, and Dave also helped me come up with this list because he's an accountant, CPA. So this is your rent mortgage as a cost of doing business, your phone services, your phone equipment inside the shop, your building repairs, maintenance on your own building, computers, software and hardware. Internet services is a cost of doing business. Vehicle expenses, meaning do you have any vehicles that belong to the property or the company for services? I got a shuttle to take customers back and forth to work. I have a truck to go pick up parts, or I have a tow truck. That's part of your overhead. Office supplies, paper clips, tape, stuff like that. Postage and shipping. 1 minute. I thought I had 3 more minutes. Oh, okay. Give me some. Finish up this last little list here. Training, education expenses, annual salaries, employee payroll, advertising and promotion, membership and dues to any type of outside membership. Like if you're an SCRS, AASP, you can write that off for memberships. You can also write off business health insurance, legal and accounting services, taxing and licensing, utilities on the building, retirement funds, travel expenses for business purposes, not for vacations. Entertainment purposes, like Christmas parties or annual parties you're going to throw. Equipment purchases is huge. Another thing is upgrades on the shop or equipment inside the shop. And then, of course, meals, parties, and celebrations. Does it say color, set, and buff there anywhere? Does it say color, mix, and match sprayer card? Does it say body shop supplies anywhere? Okay. Cost of doing business is if you opened up your store tomorrow and still received your monthly bills and didn't fix a car, those are your fixed prices. Okay? How much sandpaper do you waste if you have no work in the shop? How many hours do you waste on color, set, and buffing if you have no work in the shop? How much paint do you waste if you have no work in the shop and do nothing? Okay. How much is your mortgage payment if you have no work in the shop? Same as if you have 5,000 cars in the shop and produce 5,000. Do you guys see the difference there? Okay, that's important to know that. Hopefully this opened up your eyes a little bit to look at why we should or shouldn't have repair standards. I know I added 1 or 2 other things in there outside of repair standards. If you guys have questions, I'll still be around for the rest of the day if you want to grab me or after class. Sorry I had to cut a little short. They need to clear the room. But if you guys have questions, grab a hold of me. I'll be more than glad to answer. Thank you again for your time, guys.
Please hang up and try again.